everybody. So I just wanted to get this thought out so that I capture it and remember it. So I was doing a little shopping and I came into this store and this jacket, this beautiful coat, just kind of came into focus for me, and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't have a size, a label on it, whatever, I'm going to try it on. So I tried it on and it fit perfectly, and it was a beautiful coat. And I looked at, the inside labels, and it was, very nice material, cashmere, and I was like, you know what, I really like this coat. And I'm looking everywhere, and there's no tag on this coat. And so I'm looking at inside the store at other coats, trying to get a feel for what are the prices of other coats. And they weren't exactly the same at all, but I'm just getting an idea. So I have my items that I'm ready to go to the checkout, and the woman notices that I'm, holding the red coat, and she goes, oh, she's like, this is a beautiful coat. And I said, it doesn't have a price tag on it. And so she says, well, let me see. So she goes and looks at other coats, and she has another coat that she's priced at $75. So she's like, I'll take $75 for it. And I said, I'm not willing to pay that for this coat. I said, my budget is $40. And I said, it truly is a beautiful coat. And so I walk away. I'm like, I want it, but I'm willing to pay $40. I'm not willing to spend double at $75, okay? And so I'm willing to walk away. And so I'm still holding this bowl and book that were the other items I wanted to purchase. And I said, well, then I'll just get this bowl and book. And she's still looking at the coat, looking at me.
Use the left lane to stay to the left to State Route 71 North toward Townsend, Middletown.
And she's like, well, how about would you go for 60? And I said, no. I said, my budget is 40, and unless you can do it for 40, I can't purchase it for 75, and I can't purchase it for 60. So I'm still holding at 40. And she says, okay, well, if you could do it for 45, and then I'm still holding onto the plate and the bowl and the book. And I said, well, I'll do it for 45, but then I will not be buying the book and I will not be buying the bowl. Because again, she's looking at dollars. She's trying to add it all up. And I said, my budget is $40 for the coat. That's the maximum.
To State Route 71 North toward Townsend, Middletown.
That's the maximum that I can pay. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, okay, I'll let you have the coat for 40. And so the point of the matter,
for 6.7 miles to Summit Ridge Road.
The point of this matter is about, I know who I am. I know when I shop, I know what I'm willing to pay. I know what I'm not willing to pay. I know what my budget is for that moment, and I know where I'm willing to go higher, and I know where I'm not. I'm confident in who I am, and I also am confident that I know the value of something that someone else is trying to sell. And I'm also willing to walk away if it doesn't meet my terms. That's called setting a healthy boundary. It's also about me walking in my presence, knowing who I am, and that I'm not going to be sold by somebody else because they want to try to get additional money out of me because the item didn't have a price tag on it. And the whole point is, I was willing to walk away from that sale if she was not willing to offer it to me at a reasonable price, knowing that it was a vintage item and that, again, it's about what are you willing to pay in that moment and what is the value to you. And so when I stood in my presence and I stood in my power, she then altered her desire to get something for $75, to sell it for $75, and she accepted my offer at 40 for that item. And I still bought the bowl and I still bought the book, but I stayed at 40. So what I'm getting at is, when you know who you are, and you declare your presence, you are commanding your presence of who you choose to be. And it may not line up with how someone else wants you to be based on what they want to be able to control you for their purposes or for their agenda. But you have to know yourself to be able to walk away when the deal doesn't, jive together the way that you're willing for it to jive together. And then you also know when to just kind of pause. I could have just walked out the door and not purchased anything, but I paused for a moment. And in that pause, she reconsidered, and I was able to walk away with the coat that I wanted at $40 and the bowl and the book, and I stayed within my budget. So what I'm getting at is be who you choose to be, know who you want to be, and then be that. And whether or not someone likes who you're being, they have a choice to either accept you for who you are, and you have to have the willingness to be able to walk away if your terms are not being met and your values are not being met. So I hope that helps. Hope you have a great evening, and thank you so much for just checking in. Have a good one.